listening to RMG Talks, Personal Injury, Leaders in Georgia Medical.
All right, everyone, welcome to RMG Talks. I'm Dana. I have a video here and we have a special guest. We are here with Dr. Joe. Welcome, Dr. Joe, to RMG Talks.
Thanks so much for having me. What an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. We're so excited to hear all about your specialty and in the Georgia and in the personal injury space as it relates to healthcare. But before we get started, can you tell us a few things about yourself for our listeners?
Sure. I like long walks on a beach. No.
The good stuff, right?
All the good stuff, yeah. I've been in practice 37 years. I've missed a half a day of work in 37 years. Same building. It's been the same. We have 4 offices. The main office, I'm still in that same building. Board certified in chiropractic, orthopedics, pain management, double board certified in nutrition. So that's 5. BS in clinical nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author. I host what I believe is the #1 health and wellness radio show in the world at WSB Radio. Dr. Oz has the biggest TV show. We have the biggest radio show. And we've been doing that for many, many years at WSB Radio in Atlanta. We're the #1 station in the country too. And so we see a ton of patients. We get referrals from, of course, other chiropractors, medical doctors, hospitals. And with the show, we have such a far reach on people. It's kind of neat too, because sometimes adjusters will even say, well, okay, I know who Dr. Joe is. I've listened to him. Attorneys say it all the time. Patients love coming to see us because they know us already. So we've got a real far-reaching effect on healthcare, not only in Georgia, but across the world. So.
Wow, that's incredible. You are making an impact, and that's why we're so happy to have you here today. A video, I'd like to introduce Video. Video, tell us a little bit about yourself. Our special guest today also is a Video Santiago.
How's it going, Dr. Joe?
I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, that's great. I've been in the personal injury space myself on the marketing side for over 10 years. And I'm really excited to talk to you because you have mentioned health and wellness. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you could please elaborate on how health and wellness can help in the personal injury space.
This is so important. And I really believe this is the missing link in personal injury treatment. Because so many people, they're good doctors and bad. I mean, we're not hiding anything here. We know there's some scammers out there. And they'll go in and they'll come to us later and say, listen, I got in a car accident and I got treated, 10 times. And they said, I'm done. And I never got any treatment. All they did was maybe throw a hot pack on and put them on a spinalator or something like that. And so when we deal with patients, we got to realize that every patient, we want to get a good reputation with that patient. We want to make sure we do a good job. And those patients are also patients that can refer to us later on in the future. So if we're just, trying to run up the bills, it's not a really good way to run any type of practice. And you run the risk of having issues later on, legal issues. So actually getting the patient well, not just treating him for a car accident, but actually treating him for getting well is by far a much better model that works not only short-term, but long-term as well.
Excellent. Now, what is the correlation between diet and healing?
This is a key here, because if you're going to take a tomato and plant it in sand, well, it's not going to grow. You have to have nutrients in there to make the tomato grow and flourish. Same thing with the body. When you're injured, your nutritional needs skyrocket. You need more nutrients in order for the body to heal. And if you're not doing that, and I'm not saying you need to, but it's an addition to what you're doing that's going to get you much better results. Because if I tear a muscle, I need more amino acids, I need better blood flow, I need neurological flow, I got to make sure my sodium potassium levels is right so I can create neurological impulses. So you can't just, you can just treat the patient, but when you add the nutritional component to it and diet, it changes everything. The results I find are much better.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great point you made right there. Now, here's a term I came across last week in a series of meetings I had attended. What is the vagus nerve, and how does damage to the vagus nerve come into play in PI cases?
Well, the vagus nerve, actually, it looks like vagus, V-A-G-U-S, right? Yeah. The vagus nerve is so important when you come to the neurological component of a whiplash injury, let's say, because the vagus nerve is a big nerve. And it comes out of the left side of your head, goes down and controls your digestive system. It's the major control of your digestive system. Mm-hmm. So if your seatbelt is holding your body in place, nothing's holding your neck in place. So when you get hit, this body's going to be protected by the seatbelt, but the head is going to snap around. And many times we can damage the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve, like I said, goes into the digestive system. It's what's called a parasympathetic nerve.
Okay.
There's two types of nerves in your body. Sympathetic speed you up, parasympathetic slow you down. And we heal when we're in the parasympathetic mode. That's why we sleep, okay? So if you damage the vagus nerve and damage the parasympathetic nervous system, you're probably not going to get all the healing that you need because you're stuck in what's called the sympathetic mode. You're in pain, you're wide awake, you're nervous, you're anxious. We got to shift the body into the parasympathetic mode. And if the vagus nerve is damaged, it can be hard to do that.
Okay.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, that's very, very informative and very
I
educational.
had no idea.
Yep. Now, you've got circulation and you've got healing. If you could please let everyone know, how does circulation and healing help in a PI case?
This is vital as well, because how do we get nutrients to the area? So I get a whiplash. Let's say my head snaps back, forward and back. I damage the ligaments and the nerves in the neck. Of course, we can show that on X-ray. And so we have ligamentous instability. That's a driver. That's something that we can document that says the person is an objective finding. But we need blood to bring nutrients into the area that's injured, and then blood to flush out the waste products. Because if I damage myself, I'm going to have lactic acid buildup. I'm going to have torn muscle tissue in there, inflammation. You need that circulation to bring blood in and carry the waste products out. A couple of things happen. We think from a chiropractic or an orthopedic standpoint is that we can pinch a nerve. And technically, do you really pinch a nerve? Well, there's swelling around the nerve and it compresses the nerve. You're also compressing blood vessels because as the nerve exits from the spine, the blood vessels are wrapped around it. So you have nerve and blood vessels exiting from the spine. So if you have nerve damage, chances are you have blood vessel damage as well. And there's one nutrient in your body, and it's called nitric oxide, not nitrous. Nitrous is the thing you get the dentist to get you silly. Nitric oxide, it's inside the lining of your blood vessels, and it causes the blood vessels to relax. And when the blood vessel relaxes, it allows the blood to flow through it. And with high blood pressure, many times it's a nitric oxide issue. And so there could be compression of the blood vessels, and you don't have enough nitric oxide to relax them and open them up. And as we get older, our nitric oxide levels plummet. It's part of the aging process. So we've got to make sure that we're getting enough nutrients in our body, and you can do that with either food and or supplements, to create the nitric oxide, to open up the blood vessels, to increase circulation. And to go back a little bit, the vagus nerve relaxes blood vessels as well. So if you have vagus nerve damage and the swelling of the blood vessels, and you don't have enough nitrates to produce nitric oxide to open up the blood vessels, the body isn't going to get the proper healing.
Interesting. I love the way you brought it back to the vagus nerve. That's a very good correlation there.
Yeah.
Speaking of all the nerves here, when would be the proper time for someone to refer someone out to an ortho or a neurologist?
That's a good question.
That's a great question too. And again, I'm board certified in non-surgical orthopedics and pain management. I think I'm the only chiropractor in the state board certified in pain management. Guys, if you're a chiropractor, don't be afraid to refer. I don't know how many times you're going to have to hear this to beat it in your head to get it. You want to do something called escalation of care. So from a management standpoint, from a case management standpoint, if we're just doing chiropractic care, that's great. If that's all they need, don't refer them out. But if you've seen the patient, I'd say 8 visits, maybe 10 visits, they're still having ortho or neuro symptoms. It's a really good idea. In fact, it's necessary to refer out to an orthopedist or a neurologist, depending, is it an orthopedic case or a neurology case, and get that second opinion. And the insurance companies, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, this person was a chiropractic case. It is what it is. But what we're doing is, if they need it, not if they don't need it, we have the escalation of care to show that we did this, we got this kind of results. Then we had the orthopedic evaluation. Then we had the neurological evaluation. Maybe we had a PT evaluation. And we're showing that the case really was a serious case, and we were able to show that the person needs the care. And that's what the insurance companies want to see, but that's how we can deal with them, instead of them saying, well, you gave them 10, 15 adjustments, they weren't really hurt, which of course we've all heard that story before.
Yeah.
No, it's very important to build a case, and that's a great way to put it right there, the escalation of care.
Right.
Here's another term. I know a lot of people do suffer spine injuries in car accidents. Cerebrospinal flow and the PI case. Please talk to me about that.
Look how smart you are asking these great questions. Man, you're brilliant. This is another thing that oftentimes is overlooked in a PI case. Years ago, there was a fellow named Bertrand Desjardins, and if you're a chiropractor, you know him from developing what's called the SOT technique, the sacro-occipital technique. And what Bertrand Desjardins found, he was an osteopath and a chiropractor and an engineer. In fact, he developed color film. That's one of these amazing. I got to study with him years ago. It was such a pleasure. But every time you're functioning every day, your heart's beating, and the heart's pumping blood. Then you have another circulatory system called the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system flushes out waste products. So if you have a cold or a flu, your glands will swell. Those are your lymph glands, and it's filtering out viruses, germs, bacteria, and the glands swell. The lymphatic system works because you're contracting muscles. So when you move around, the lymphatic system works. One of the reasons why it's important to move if you have an immune issue. There's a third circulatory system that many, many years ago, we couldn't figure out how it worked. It was called this sacro-occipital pump, or the cerebrospinal fluid. What pumps cerebrospinal fluid from your sacrum up through your spine, into your skull, and then out? That's the nutrients that feeds the brain and the spinal cord. So when you get in a car accident, again, if the seatbelt is holding you, the skull can snap back and forth, and you could damage the occiput. And the occiput and the sacrum pump. Every time you breathe, they drop down and drop up, and they're pumping cerebrospinal fluid. If you damage the occiput, you can affect the cerebrospinal fluid pump. And if you don't have that pump, the brain and the spinal cord isn't getting the nutrients that it needs. And so if you're just trying to treat the patient, and get the case closed and over with and get those checks in, that's one way to practice. But if that cerebrospinal pump is damaged, that person could have long-term permanent injuries. So that's why it's important that we check, eyeballs to toenails. We check everything to make sure that everything is lined up properly. Because if you have that damage, the quicker you fix it, the more likely you are to get good results. That cerebrospinal fluid pump is vital for life. And without that, the patient ages quickly and the body deteriorates.
No, thank you so much, because I was in a car accident and I have a herniated disc right here, just above the spine. And I didn't get great care at the time. The doctor I went to just wanted to give me a shot. And that
of course, right.
And that's not going to do anything for me. And now I suffer to where I have numbness in my neck all the time.
You'll talk about it.
It's amazing, so you're educating me right now, which I really appreciate.
No, that's great. Yeah, the cerebrospinal pump is great. When you teach people how to fix it, it's pretty easy to fix. The results, again, we go back to healthcare versus just trauma care. And like I said, trauma care, I'll give you a shot. It'll cover up the pain, but it didn't fix anything. Shot is going to wear off. Shots always wear off. Then you have the damaged scar tissue forms. That's why you got to get somebody under treatment as quickly as possible. The quicker you get them under care, the better. And it's okay to get the shot. Absolutely. We have medical in our office, and we can do we can do pain management as well. But you got to get the chiropractic and the pain management to get the best results.
Yeah. I hope everyone listening out there is taking good notes here, because the doctor gives good information here to build up your cases there. All right. Here's a good one. Supplementation and the PI patient.
Excellent. I know a little bit about that. Unless you're eating the perfect diet, and I know no one, I don't even eat the perfect diet. And I've been vegan for 34 years now. So I eat mostly plant-based, whole foods, raw foods. As we get older, we just don't absorb nutrients like we used to. And so again, that's called aging. So I feel whenever we have a case come in, it may not be part of the PI case. And we tell the patient, listen, this is not going to be covered by your insurance, most likely. However, our goal is not just get you out of pain. Our goal is get you well. So I will then do on every patient, regardless of what they're in for, we do a nutritional evaluation. A couple of things. Number one, patients are blown away if they've ever been to another doctor and they never had that, and you're giving them this entire nutritional workup. And it's easy to do. They're, my God, I've never been treated like this before. And that's what people want. The number one reason people are not happy with their doctors is they don't like them. So what would you do to make somebody like them? Give them something. I'm going to give you a gift, right? I'm going to give you this gift of, this is what I think you should eat. So we do a nutritional workup, and on our website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, we direct them to a link that I have, and you just type in the 7 deadly sins of nutrition, and a person can listen to the 7 foods I recommend you avoid. And that would be alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And I know that's everybody's diet. But Then there's another link that I have on my website called So What Can I Eat? And if you guys want to take that and give it to your patients, feel free. And just say, hey, listen, just listen to this. And then if you have any questions, let me know. If you do nothing but that, patients are going to get blown away with the service, the quality of care that they're getting that they've never gotten anywhere else. Then we talk about supplementation. If the person, I always say, if you're over 30 years old, you're probably going to need some nitric oxide supplementation to open up the blood vessels and increase circulation. There's another supplement that I have called Essential Source, and it's fruits and vegetables in a powder form, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes. I get them on that as well. I'll also get the PI cases on digestive enzymes. Because if you take digestive enzyme supplements with food, it breaks down the food. If you take it on an empty stomach, the enzymes can be absorbed into your blood system and act as an anti-inflammatory and break up that swelling that's in there. And so if I get patients on this, we can give them the best chiropractic care in the world. We can get the best orthopedic care in the world, the best injections, the best pain management. But if the patient isn't taking responsibility and sucking down diet sodas and hamburgers every day, they're not going to get the results that they can get. And who are they going to blame it on? Blame it on you. It's your fault, So that's what that's like the minimum supplement protocol I put people on. Now in the winter, accidents weaken the immune system. What do we got? This little thing called COVID going around. What's the recommendations now? Finally, after all this time, I've been talking about it for months. The official words are at least take vitamin D. Even Dr. Fauci is taking vitamin D. Vitamin D builds up the immune system. And in the winter months, you can't get enough sunlight, no matter how much you're out there, to get the sunlight to interact with the cholesterol in your skin to produce vitamin D. I get them on a vitamin D supplement. 5 drops of our supplement a day is all you need. And this way, the immune system works more efficiently, and then they're less likely to have a comorbidity. If a patient is sick, they have the flu or COVID, they can't come in and get treatment.
Right.
Who's going to suffer? Everybody suffers. So these are just little things that we do on every patient. And again, it may not be covered by the insurance, but I want to get my patients well.
Yeah, there's so many factors to consider.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love the way you mentioned COVID there, because we're going into flu season as well right now, and all that plays a factor in the treatment that these patients need to get.
yes.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, you mentioned nutrition a lot. All right. TBI and nutrition.
Yes.
When do you refer out?
Traumatic brain injury and nutrition. Okay. We talked about what to do with nutrition. We got to get people on nutrients. The brain needs nutrients to heal. Now, the brain has a capability called plasticity. And this is really neat stuff. We used to think, when I went to school years ago, I was taught if the brain cells are damaged, you're dead forever. That's all it is. Well, it turns out that's not true. The brain can generate new brain cells, and the brain can rewire itself around damaged injuries, damaged areas. So you have a traumatic brain injury, a TBI, and we damage this part of the brain. The brain, if it's given the right circulation and nutrition, many times, not always, many times has the ability to rewire itself and wire around or heal the damaged area. So what we do is we look for cognitive issues. You're talking to the patient, they don't remember who you are in extreme cases. But people say, since the accident, I just can't remember things. My memory's shot. I walk in a room, I don't know where I am. Spouses are good at this. They'll come in and say, listen, since the accident, my husband's been very angry, very anxious, or very depressed. So now we're seeing functions of the brain that can be damaged with a TBI, traumatic brain injury. You want to get that out to a neurologist. You've got to get that referred, because if there's damage in there and it gets worse and you didn't refer, guess what? You could be held responsible. You have not only fiduciary responsibility, you have a legal responsibility to refer that patient if it's something that's outside your scope of practice, or somebody who's better trained than you are. And that's why it's really important. If you start seeing vision problems, dizziness, fatigue, anxiety, emotional disorders, person can't remember their name, can't remember where they live, you got to get that patient out immediately for a referral. You can co-manage the case. Doesn't mean you're going to lose the case if you refer them. Co-managing means you and I are going to work on this case together, and then I'm going to give you my findings, going to be your findings, we're going to work together. Finding doctors that will co-manage the case is the key to escalation of care. It's a key to building a good PI case.
Wow.
Wow, that's what we're here for. Bring everybody together and keep the communication going and help each other out.
Absolutely.
You saying that.
Still, to chime in, do you still find a hesitation with co-management amongst the doctors and chiros in Georgia?
All the time. I see it all the time. And, it's interesting too. I had an attorney call me the other day, one of his people, and they said, Dr. Joe, we love working with chiropractors, guys, great referral sources. But I'm having an issue because the doctors aren't escalating the treatment. We got to find medical doctors that we can trust to send them to, and we can't find those doctors. So I've got a list, and of course, regional medical is a great resource. I refer there all the time. You're going to get your patient back. Yeah. And then you can co-manage the case together. But I've got a list of all the doctors that I work with. And I say, okay, this is even therapists. Somebody might have a fear of driving after that. That's escalating treatment.
And the attorneys don't have time. They don't have time to be the doctor and be like, I think they should go here. I think they should also. No, let them do their thing and let the doctors do their thing.
And an attorney shouldn't be referring for treatment. I hate when an attorney says, well, I'm going to send you out for this review. No. I'm the captain of the ship. I'm driving here.
Let me do my specialty.
Yes. You handle illegal stuff and I'll make sure the patient gets well. And when you get good results, the patients are happy. They're happy with the attorney. The attorney says, I sent them over to Joe Esposito or whatever. I sent them to Fred, I don't know, whoever. And they were so happy when their patient got treatment from, regional medical, Joe Esposito, whatever it is. I'm going to refer to them again because I look good because I referred them. Now, if you do crappy work, the attorney is now, it's a reflection of the attorney, and they're going to say, I can't refer to that person anymore. I get nothing but complaints. So look at that patient, not only from that patient, but your whole, your brand. You got to build your brand. And that's why I only work with people that I know are going to make me look good.
Build your network.
There you go. Right. Exactly.
Now, you've discussed dieting. You've discussed nutrition. You've discussed digestion. We've talked about traumatic brain injuries. Okay. Why do all of this with PI cases?
Well, again, it's a little extra work. I mean, that much extra work. It's not a whole lot. But you want to get the patient well, because every case that comes in, it could be problems for you too. There's social media right now, and God knows, I mean, you can have 1,000 happy people. One person isn't happy because they had to wait an extra 10 minutes. They're going to go right to social media. I'm going to make a comment on this because I have to cancel this person, the cancel mentality. I have to cancel culture it because they didn't give me exactly what I wanted. So you got to look at every patient that comes in as a referral source, as getting better, as being your patient forever. And that's one of the things I see sometimes with PI cases. And again, everybody runs a practice differently. I want a patient for life. So if an attorney refers me a patient, that patient is going to need chiropractic care. They're going to need nutrition evaluations. They're going to have children. They're going to have kids playing baseball. So you can build your practice. If you're only PI, that's okay too. They know people are getting car accidents. And they're going to say, oh, you got to go. I had a patient come in the other day. She said, 5 different people separately told me to come see you. I said, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And so if you look at PI cases as patients and not just numbers, you're going to build a much more successful practice. You're not going to be struggling and begging for patients. Oh my God, I got to milk every penny out of this patient. No, you're going to have plenty of patients because patients talk. Good or bad, they're going to talk. So that's why we like to do wellness work along with the chiropractic, with the PI cases and workers' comp and sports injuries, because every patient is going to be a referral for your next patient as well. And you want happy patients. You want good results at your job. It's what you went to school for.
Yes,
Do you think a lot of doctors and chiros in the personal injury space see them as lifelong patients?
I don't know. I can't speak for other people, but I do know that I've had a lot of people come to me over the years and say, you know what? I went to this place. I wasn't happy. And so I didn't know what to do. And then the settlement came in and they took all the money. And I mean, you hear the stories. We all do. Yeah. So what do we do about that? Well, we just treat them well. Treat them like you'd want to be treated. I mean, I know it sounds so trite, but treat them like you want to be treated. You go to doctors, you're a patient too. How do I want to be treated when I go into that doctor's office?
So true. That was a good one, Dana. Now, Doc, I'd like to open the floor up to you now. If there's anything else you want to share with our listeners right now, please do so.
Sure. Okay. Again, escalating care, I can't stress that enough, how important that is. Because in the PI world, there's something called drivers. And what drivers are is the insurance company has these big software programs. Colossus, I think, was the granddaddy of them all. And they type in some numbers and it says, okay, you got a strain, sprain. Well, that's worth X amount of points. I don't know if I'm using the right word there. But then they say, okay, well, the person was treated for 8 to 10 visits, chiropractor, or whoever it was, said this person didn't do well. We need to send them out for orthopedics. That's another driver. Then an MRI. Get that MRI done. You got to document. If you can't, if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. So even if a patient isn't getting better, write that down. Okay. Dana was coming in and we treated her for 8 to 10 visits. She's not seeing the results that we were expecting. We want to co-manage this case with Dr. Whoever. Write it in your notes. Because if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. And you have to protect yourself. This isn't just a money-making game. You have a license to protect. And you talk to people on the board, they say it all the time. Did you follow standard of care? Standard of care is if I'm going to go in there and I've got a PI case and a traumatic brain injury and I've got shooting pain down my leg and I don't take x-rays or I don't do an MRI, you're dead. You got no defense. I was talking to somebody on the board the other day and he says, we got 3 cases right now and it's a group of doctors. They don't take x-rays. They don't do exams. And he says, we got 3 complaints. He says, we can't defend them. There's nothing we can do to defend this doctor because they didn't follow standard of care. So whatever your philosophy is, that's fine, but there is a standard of care in each state that you have to act like all the other doctors around you. If a PI case went into 10 different doctors in your office and 9 of them took x-rays and you didn't, that's not standard of care. Right. So don't be afraid to send them out for an MRI. Don't be afraid for a second evaluation, for a second opinion. Mm-hmm. And then treat them and dismiss them when they're done. Okay, and make sure you document the patient was dismissed. We did an evaluation. They still had these positive findings. Record keeping, I don't know. I wish that we had more training in record keeping because I see other doctors' records and I'm like, come on, seriously? We have to have a SOAP note in a SOAP form. You have to document good or bad. You have to say which doctor saw the patient. You have to follow all the HIPAA laws. So yeah, PI is great. It's a wonderful place to be. You help a lot of people, but you've got to follow the rules as well. You can't just go in there willy-nilly and just start cracking on people's backs. There's going to be consequences, and I don't want you to do that. So just from an old man here talking, I just want to let you know that this is what I've seen happen over the years. I like to add the nutritional component. If you don't want to do it, I'm more than happy to do it for you. We will never steal your patient. Don't worry about that. I've been in practice too long to worry about that. But I'm more than happy to help you co-manage that case. We can work together and say, all right, let's add this component to it. A lot of people after an injury, the seatbelt is across the abdomen. It can push the stomach up into the diaphragm. And many patients, after an accident, they'll say, I have acid reflux. I have heartburn. I'm burping all the time. Your stomach's...
Digestive issues, yeah.
Yes. You see it all the time. What do? I don't know what to do about it. I'll give you some tips here. If the stomach pushes up through the diaphragm, it's called a hiatal hernia. It could be subclinical. You may not even find it right away. But there's a simple adjustment where you pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And it relaxes the stomach, takes the stress off the vagus nerve. And the stomach's main job, is to take proteins and break them into something called amino acids. The amino acid tryptophan gets into the body, mixes up with vitamin B6 and creates a chemical called 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. What does that have to do with a PI case? Serotonin helps you calm down and focus. Mm-hmm. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. And when do we heal? When we're sleeping. Following? Yeah. Tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Glutamine becomes GABA. GABA suppresses pain. So if you're having a digestive problem and you're not addressing that digestive problem, the patient probably isn't going to have the capabilities to get well. And what happens with that seatbelt? Where does it sit? Right across your stomach. So almost every case we see, we work on that. It takes seconds to adjust the stomach. Get them on digestive enzymes again. It'll help break down the food, break down the proteins, get you the amino acids. Amino acids are used in the muscles to heal the muscles. So
I would just never thought of that. That's great. You just schooled me.
There you go. Well, what's cool about that too is if you ever go to court, you ever do a deposition, and you have a smart attorney, and you tell the attorney, ask me these questions that you just asked me.
Yeah.
Okay. And you ask those questions, and the other insurance company is going to go, crap, we can't bring this case to court. Exactly. This guy's going to get the jury as patients. So
you'll win everyone over.
That's right. And that's, you have to know what you know. And it's really easy. What am I going to do differently than every other PI case that every other attorney's ever seen? I've been to depositions already where the defense attorney said, do you take new patients? As a matter of fact. I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a beautiful proof of what you're speaking.
Yes. So, and it does work. And again, it's all these things. You guys, how long have you guys been in PI? You never even thought about these things. So
Never.
add these little things to it and it works wonders. In fact, one of the folks at Regional, I won't say who it is, but she had some stomach issues and I adjusted her stomach one day at one of your events and she's my new best friend. So
Oh, that's amazing. No, I love everything you've talked about today, hitting on the co-management and all these issues. I love it. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
real simple. Any questions you have, again, if you want to help with any of this, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. It's real simple. Again, offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We're more than happy to work with you, help you out in any way we can. Again, our goal is get people well and keep them well. And if that's your goal too, you'll have a successful practice no matter what you do.
All right, folks, it's that easy. drjoe.com. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Joe Esposito, for being on RMG Talks with us. And we look forward to seeing you soon.